Hi, this is day 3 of trying to become a famous author, and today I wanted to chat about what I've written so far and sort of explain why I haven't followed through, because I guess I'd need to come up with an excuse for that. I think I have all right excuses for not going all the way with any long things that I've written before, because, well, I'll get to that, but I think it's important just to put it out, because I want to remind myself as well why I'm moving on from those things. Because for the first one, I tried to come back to that, and that was after maybe 8 years, and it didn't go so well. So I think I need to just get out there what has gone wrong so far. So the first long form thing that I wrote was in my 3rd year of high school. This was back in 2017, and I wrote most of it that year, but it was a project that I went through for the rest of high school. I was doing that every night. It felt like, I think I was probably writing on average 5,000 words a week. So nothing too crazy. I definitely wasn't hunkered over my laptop every hour of the day, but it was a big passion project that I had going on, and I was keeping it under wraps. I only really told a few people. That was like my best mate and my family knew about it, but I didn't really have a ton of belief that it was gonna be anything, but I also at the same time didn't want to ruin my chances in case it was. But for some background, this was a dystopian themed novel. It was about a futuristic society where, in order to progress from being a teenager into an adult, you have to complete these monthly assignments, and they're based on your personality. But if you fail them, even a single one, then at the end of the year, when they round everyone up and do these brain scans and figure out all of your memories from the past year, if they find that you messed up one of those assignments, then you're eliminated. But it isn't super clear what that means. It's one of the mysteries, but everyone sort of assumes that it means that they're going to get like knocked off. So that is the main theme, and it's about a guy in his final year, and if he completes the assignments for this year, it means he will now progress to being an adult who still has a job, but it's very easy, and life is full of luxuries. You get access to the inner part of the city where life is even more luxurious than this outer ring that all of the teenagers sort of have to occupy and they're not allowed outside of. So none of this is that revolutionary, but I was really into trying to write thriller and action, and I felt like that was where my strength lied, because on the other hand, I wasn't so good at depicting interiority and what the characters were thinking. It was easier for me to just say, then he ran across the boulevard chasing the villain, and giving lots of details about that, rather than trying to give details about what this dystopian system made the protagonist feel. And I think that part of what put me off this project was that the main character did begin feeling really out of touch, because I didn't really leave myself any of the clues about who he was underneath. So after enough time had passed in this project, and I'd moved from the 2nd draft to the 3rd draft, and years had passed, and now I was not, I guess, 15 anymore. Now I was getting up to 18. I just sort of lost touch with this character. I hadn't left a clear sort of plan or outline to sort of trace my way back to his core. And so yeah, I lost touch with that, but it was still a great sort of exercise for me to really pump out 3 entire manuscripts with pretty big changes, and knowing the kind of work that goes into that, but also almost in a way how futile it is to try to do that off your own back. It's, I think, necessary to try to get other people to have a look and not just over and over again go over it, because I think that just ends up becoming an infinite loop, which is the main problem I've faced is never being happy enough with a project in order to try to get it published. But that leads me to the second thing I wrote. This was closer to the end of high school, and I was getting into more of an angsty, older teenager phase, and I really wanted to write about something a bit more character-based. So this was about a guy who moves to this new school on a scholarship, and it's in the South Island of New Zealand. He's extremely unpopular at his previous school, and at this new one, he's sort of trying to break out of what he considers to be the way people have sort of stereotyped him, or like put him into a box. Like he's going on this sort of vain mission of reinventing himself, and I think that appealed to me because in a deep down way, not that I necessarily had the same pressures he's under, but I think that also appealed to me too, to be able to go somewhere fresh and try to start again. But I think the conflict of the novel, but also what I'd realized in that kind of deep desire, is that doesn't really work. You can't expect to go somewhere and completely change yourself and manipulate people's perceptions of you that much. But the novel was sort of about him learning that, and me having to really convince myself of it, and him eventually realizing that it's more about like that kind of self-esteem and security has to sort of come from within and not from how people treat you, or popularity or those kind of things. So it was definitely, as you can tell, super in line with like high school emotions, like what I myself felt at that time, but very typical teenage drama stuff. So that meant that for a while it really felt like I was riding on fire. But yeah, then after some time passed, it didn't feel relatable to me at all anymore, and it felt as though I'd started to pursue other things in that manuscript and sort of gone down. Like the whole point of the story was about separating reality from fiction and learning the true value of yourself. But I think inside that manuscript, I was sort of still pursuing illusory things in a way, and making him go down sort of these pretty dark rabbit holes, but also depicting the world in an accurate way, sort of almost leaning more into the fantastical than into the reality of coming to terms with who you are that it was meant to be about. So I guess it's like a roundabout way of saying that the novel ended up romanticizing a lot of the things that I was trying to do the opposite of, trying to unromanticize. So that's what put me off there, and maybe there's something recoverable about it, but since I wrote that and did the, I guess, editing that I did, I don't think I could call it a second draft, but from getting to the first draft to draft 1.5, I just didn't see any recoverability of it. So that was the third thing that I dropped. And then the third thing was a manuscript that I wrote in university, and that was a first draft barely, but it was told between two perspectives of students attending different universities in Boston, and that was more on the theme of addiction, which was it's something I wanted to write about for a while, but not known how to. And what I learned from writing this is that I still don't know how to do that in a good way. But that was really me dusting off the pen, because it had been so long since I had last really engaged in a project. College was a bit of a weird time because I had to engage in lots of things that I didn't really feel like were my priority and were good for self growth, but not what I envisioned I would be doing in university. I think I mentioned this a bit in the first video, but I didn't get to sort of focus on creative writing like I wanted to. So that was me trying to dust things off, and it was clearly rusty and a bit forced because I was definitely writing about something that I couldn't really close to do justice to yet, but it still helped me to get back into that mindset. So those are the three things I've written that are long form. I've done more short stories that's been a bit less inconsistent, but that is why I've got to this point where since 2017 I've done so much writing and yet not let myself take any of these things to the next point. So not to try to exonerate myself for that, but that's part of why going to this project, I know what my habits are, and I'm trying to be a little bit less critical of myself and stick with this project, even if at times it feels like I'm venturing into territory that is unknown or going off track a bit. Just trying to keep going anyway, and if I need to go back and adjust things, then I can just do that. But the important part is get it done and see what happens. So that is where I'm at. But thank you for following along. If you have thoughts about something that you've written, I would love to hear them, just to know maybe I'm not the only one who has had to drop things in the past, or just let me know any thoughts you might have. But thank you for following along, and let me know if you are enjoying these videos. So yeah, thanks a lot.